Hi everyone, I'm Belinda Payne. It's Sunday, November 28th, 2021, and thanks for joining me for our Sunday morning devotion. Our devotion is entitled, God Will Create Moments of Learning. God will create moments of learning. You know, it might be through a final exam, maybe a buyout with a company that you're going through, a run to the grocery store, or that's the fact that you've got a child leaving home for the first time. You know, God has ways of creating and bringing divine moments into our lives through ordinary events, just ordinary circumstances that happen every day. But yet they're often overlooked because we tend to process things through our natural eyes or our natural ears, right? So, but then what happens? We fail to seize this moment, this grand opportunity for us to learn more about God when we have these God moments. People want supernatural experiences, but they really don't necessarily want to have anything to do with God. But it's important to understand that God creates the lesson, the place, the time, the event, and the participants. All of that is what I call God moments, or moments in which we can learn various things that God wants to bring to our attention. So, take for instance the five loaves and the two fishes. Five loaves of bread, little loaves of bread, and two fishes. That's what the Bible calls it, two fishes, right? And one little lad on an ordinary day, just an innocent little boy with his lunchbox, as we might call it today. He just had a little lunchbox that was packed by his loving mother early in the morning, where he set out on a venture to what? To follow Jesus Christ and the disciples as they journeyed throughout the land to go to a place where they were going to sit before Jesus Christ and listen to his teachings. So, who could have ever orchestrated such a miraculous event on a barren mountainside? Well, Jesus did. Jesus, working through the instruction and the commandments of his Father, followed God's instructions, and he took the people to a certain place on a certain day at a certain time. So, how did this event happen? How did this divine event happen? Well, Jesus did this by asking one question and giving one commandment. In Mark chapter 6, verse 38, listen to what it says. It says, He saith unto them, How many loaves have ye? Then he says, Go and see. And he was speaking to the disciples. He was asking them a simple question. How many loaves do we have throughout the crowd? And then they don't know. So what does he say? Go and see. Go and find out. And when they knew, they say, Five. Five and two fishes. Yes, that's what the answer was to Jesus. And off the disciples went, right? They followed those instructions. They came back. They gave Jesus that instruction from that particular verse. Now, what we don't know is what the disciples actually told the lad who actually owned the lunch kit or the lunch bag of what we might call a Lunchable. What, five little loaves and two fishes? We don't know what they told this lad, but he gave his lunch kit, his Lunchables, to the disciples, knowing or not knowing, I should say, even if he would even have a meal to eat that day. He knew that his mom had packed him a lunch, but he gives his lunch over to the disciples that asked for it. Okay, and what was yet to behold or to happen, this young lad was about to enter into one of the greatest miracle moments ever performed by Jesus Christ on earth. Jesus performed great miracles, and this was one of them. But this little lad had no idea on this ordinary day that he was about to be a participant in this miraculous event. This was what I call what? A God moment of learning. Yes, this is a God moment of learning. God was what? Creating the lesson. He selected the place, the time, the event, and the participants without their knowledge, right? Okay, so perhaps the lad, when this was all happening, this little lad, he's sitting there and he's watching Jesus take his little lunch sack. Perhaps it had become kind of greasy from the lunch, from the fishes in the bag. Maybe it just kind of, the bag might have looked not so attractive anymore. After all, they had been gone since early morning. But he has this little bag, and Jesus takes this little bag with the fishes and the loaves of bread. And Jesus looks up to heaven. He watches Jesus. He's watching Jesus look up to heaven. He takes this bag. He lifts up this little Lunchable bag to God the Father in heaven, and he blesses this lunch kit. Yes, this kid is watching all this with his very own natural eyes, but something happens with his spiritual eyes, because what does God do for this little lad? Not realizing he's actually participating in a divine moment. Well, as he watches Jesus look up to heaven, he watches what they called Jesus at the time, master and teacher. And he took the bread, he took that Lunchable, and the lad witnessed the spirit of multiplication. Yes, the spirit of multiplication with his very own little eyes. He watched Jesus break the bread repeatedly. He break it and he break it and he break it, it says. And when he broke it multiple times, he passed it out to the disciples to give to the thousands of people that were sitting there. And then he also watched him divide the fish. 2 fishes. He kept dividing and passing, dividing and passing. So he passed out the loaves, the bread that he broke, and the fish that he divided over and over and over again, until it was so much so that he fed over 5,000 people with the little Lunchable. This is what we call the what? A divine moment of learning, a God moment of learning. This little kid, he was never the same. He saw it in the natural, but he also experienced it in his eyes, in his spiritual eyes, in his spiritual ears, and in his heart. And this lad was never the same. So here we are today in 2021, about to enter into 2022, and we're still what? Reading and learning and being blessed by this little lad in the Bible. What? And the Bible doesn't even give the little lad a name. All we know is he is this kid with a little lunch with 5 loaves and 2 fishes. But oh no, not you. You want notoriety. You want to be famous. You want to be recognized when you enter into a room. And God is trying to help us to understand it's not about that. It's never been about that. Once we open up our hearts, our minds, and our ears to hear what the Spirit of the Lord is telling us on an ordinary day, we too shall experience what? A supernatural, God-created moment of learning. That's what God wants to do to you, through you today, even as you hear this lesson. God is speaking to you. Be open in the Spirit. Be willing in the Spirit. Be receptive in the Spirit to make yourself available on an ordinary day. When you're taking an exam, when you're pumping gas, when you're in the grocery store, when you get up in the morning and you're cleaning your yard or you're washing some clothes. These are God moments of learning that God wants to bless you so that you can bless thousands of others. And you leave a testimony in the earth for people that you shall never see, and they may never even know your name. God wants to use you this morning, and he wants to give you a special moment, a God learning moment today. Make yourself available. Tell God that you're open, you're willing, you're ready, and you're available. God bless you.